Judge Navarro has granted a mistrial in the case against Ammon Bundy, Ryan Bundy, Cliven Bundy, and Ryan Payne. On January 8, 2018, she will rule on whether or not the dismissal will be with or without prejudice. Article 5 of the Constitution forbids double jeopardy. The basics of the case are that the Bundys have a cattle ranch in Nevada. They had a grazing contract with the federal government from 1954 to 1993. When it came time to renew the grazing contract, there were terms inserted into it that Cliven Bundy felt would make his ranching enterprise unviable economically, so he decided not to sign the renewal of the grazing contract. He also at that time bought into a theory that the federal government did not own the land on which his cattle were grazing. He claimed the land belonged to he claimed that the land belonged to Clark County, Nevada. To his credit, he continued to try and pay grazing fees to Clark County, Nevada, but they would not accept them. The federal government went to court and got a court order that he remove his cattle from federal land, and if he didn't do it within 45 days, the federal government was given the power to remove the cattle. The Bundys, the BLM then started to remove the cattle, and they hired contract cowboys. The Bundys and a bunch of other people decided to interfere with that, and then they got charged. The 4 defendants were charged and arrested at the beginning of 2016 due to the stretching of the definition of speedy trial beyond recognition. They were incarcerated for trial until December of this year. Their trial started. The prosecutor did not turn over about 3,000 pages of documents until after the trial had started. Based on this, the judge granted the defendant's motion for a mistrial. On January 8, 2018, Judge Navarro will rule on whether or not the case should be dismissed with or without prejudice. My understanding of the discovery material that wasn't turned over by the government is information about snipers who were posted by the government around the Bundy Ranch, surveillance videos taken by the government, and a document which assessed the risks by the government. Based on the charges against the Bundys, I would think that not turning over that information shows great incompetence by the government lawyers to the extent they should be fired. Complaints should also be brought against them to the entity that governs misconduct of Nevada attorneys. Prosecutors in Nevada are supposed to turn over any evidence they have that would mitigate against the charges against the defendants. This is Rule 3.8 sub D. I will now show you a copy of that rule. The question then gets to be, should the case be dismissed with prejudice because of the Fifth Amendment to the Constitution, which forbids double jeopardy? In this case, it does not appear that the government was trying to provoke a mistrial, because what they didn't do was before the start of the trial. The appropriate test seems to be found in the United States Supreme Court of Oregon versus Kennedy. In that case, the court held, where a defendant in a criminal trial successfully moves for a mistrial, he may invoke the bar of double jeopardy in a second effort to try him only if the conduct giving rise to the successful motion for a mistrial was prosecutorial or judicial conduct intended to provoke a mistrial. A more general test of overreaching is rejected because it offers virtually no standards for its application and because such a rule may not aid defendants as a class. So that's essentially saying the only time a mistrial by the government can invoke double jeopardy is if they're trying for a mistrial, which was not the case in this case. And based on that case, it is very unlikely that the Bundy case will be dismissed with prejudice, and the case will start up again likely in the February of 2018.